The rain drummed steadily against the windows of the roadside diner. Inside, the hum of neon lights mixed with the clatter of dishes and low murmurs of conversation. It was a quiet night, until he walked in. The stranger was tall, wrapped in a long coat that dripped rain onto the checkered floor. His face was shadowed beneath the brim of his hat, but his eyes, sharp and knowing, scanned the room as if searching for someone. He moved with a slow, deliberate grace, like a man accustomed to being watched. He took a seat at the counter, tapping one gloved finger against the chipped formica. "Coffee," he said, his voice smooth but edged with something unreadable. Maggie, the waitress, hesitated. There was something off about him. Not threatening, just wrong. Still, she poured the coffee and slid the cup toward him. "You from around here?" she asked, trying to sound casual. He chuckled, a deep, quiet sound that sent a shiver up her spine. "I pass through from time to time." Maggie frowned. She had worked at this diner for 8 years. She knew every trucker, every drifter, every lost soul looking for a warm meal and a place to shake off the cold. But she had never seen this man before. "You looking for someone?" she asked, nodding toward the way his eyes kept flicking toward the diner's entrance. For a moment, he didn't answer. Then, he lifted his coffee cup to his lips, took a slow sip, and smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile a cat gives a bird just before it strikes. "Maybe," he said. A heavy silence settled between them. Maggie felt the weight of it in her chest, though she couldn't explain why. The diner door jingled again, and she turned to see an old man shuffle in, his coat torn and his hair wild. Frank, one of the regulars, who usually kept to himself. But the moment his eyes landed on the stranger, he froze. His face drained of color. His hands trembled. "No," he whispered. "Not again." The stranger turned slightly, tilting his head as if amused. "Hello, Frank." Maggie looked between them, alarmed. "You two know each other." Frank backed away, nearly tripping over a chair. "He's not real," he muttered. "He's not real. This isn't happening again." Maggie had never seen Frank afraid before. He had been coming to the diner for years, always gruff, always steady. Now, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. The stranger placed his coffee cup down carefully. "Frank," he said, his voice as smooth as dark velvet. "It's time." Frank shook his head violently. "No. I got away. I left." "You ran," the stranger corrected. "But no one escapes forever." Maggie stepped between them. "Okay, hold on. I don't know what this is, but maybe we should all just calm down." Frank grabbed her arm, his grip iron tight. "You don't understand," he hissed. "He's not a man. He's something else." The lights flickered. The neon hum wavered. The air in the diner grew thick, heavy, pressing against Maggie's lungs. And then the stranger smiled again. The air grew colder. The walls seemed to bend, the corners of the diner stretching, warping, as if reality itself was peeling away. The other customers sat frozen in place, their movement sluggish, like insects trapped in amber. "You shouldn't have run, Frank," the stranger murmured. Frank let out a choked sob. "Please. Not again." Maggie turned to the stranger, anger rising in her chest. "What the hell is going on?" He regarded her curiously, as if deciding how much to say. Then, with a sigh, he leaned forward. "Frank made a deal," he said. "A very foolish deal. And now, it's time to pay." Maggie's mouth went dry. "What kind of deal?" "The kind you can't run from," the stranger said simply. Frank fell to his knees, tears streaking his weathered face. "Please. Just a little longer." The stranger's gaze softened, just for a moment. "I already gave you longer, Frank. More than most get." The diner trembled. The air rippled. Maggie felt a pressure in her skull, a low hum vibrating in her bones. Frank let out a shuddering breath. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Good man," the stranger murmured. And then, without another word, Frank vanished. No scream. No sound. Just, gone. Maggie gasped, staggering back. "What did you do?" The stranger stood, adjusting his coat. What had to be done? The world righted itself. The lights stopped flickering. The air returned to normal. The other patrons blinked as if waking from a daze, oblivious to what had just happened. Maggie's heart pounded in her chest. "Who are you?" The stranger placed a few crumpled bills on the counter. "Just a traveler." He turned to leave, pausing only once at the door. Frank made his choice. Maggie. "Everyone does. in the end. And with that, he stepped into the rain and was gone. Maggie stood frozen, the echoes of his words lingering in her mind.